If you're struggling to get into anime shape, you may be thinking that it might be impossible to get the physique of Luffy, Zoro, or Sanji. But here's some amazing news. If you're a true One Piece fan, you already know the basic framework for getting the physique that you want. And I know because I actually used this exact framework to build my own anime physique. You sat down and watched 1,000+ episodes of pirates running around, getting lost, screaming, crying, eating meat, and somehow turning trauma into friendship speeches. Like, you purposely made it through Fishman Island. You can do like literally anything. So today I'm taking 5 lessons from One Piece and turning them into a simple system for getting lean, building muscle, and staying consistent. So by the end of this, you're gonna know exactly what you're gonna need to do, and you're gonna realize that you might already have what it takes. Let me start this with a question. Why do you watch One Piece? Is it the insanely in-depth plot, the creativity, the fight scenes, or the intentional character designs? Whatever it is, I know that for a fact, it isn't fully for the ending. Obviously, we all want to know what the One Piece is and how it ends, but if that's all you cared about, you probably wouldn't even started watching it. You watch it because the journey is the entire point. The crew moments, the long arcs, the slow burns, and the random side characters that make you ugly cry even though you've only met them like 12 minutes ago. Now, you're probably thinking, what does any of this have to do with looking like Toji? Let me explain with my spoiler-free theories. I genuinely think that One Piece is going to end in one of 2 ways. The first theory is that they're going to get to the final island, they're going to open the abandoned chest, open it, and find nothing inside. Surprise! The real treasure are the friends and the adventures that you had on the way. Then half of the fandom is going to collapse crying on the floor, and the other half is going to create a whole new subreddit out of rage. The other theory is that there is a treasure, Luffy's going to pick it up, rays of sunshine are going to start pouring down on him, the crew cheers in excitement, and Luffy's going to throw it over his shoulder like it's nothing and no big deal. Because he doesn't really care about the trophy or really the title that comes with it. He just cares about the freedom and just wants to go back to adventuring. Either way, the point is basically the same. If you obsess over the end results instead of the daily adventures, you're going to hate the process. However, if you focus on the tasks that you actually enjoy doing instead of the end results, you are pretty much almost guaranteed to succeed. One day, you're just going to wake up and realize that you're a whole new person without even realizing it. So take a moment to narrow down what you love doing. If you don't love the gym, I don't know why YouTube suggested this video, but maybe calisthenics is more of your thing. If you hate eating chicken breasts, you don't need to eat it. Try like steak or fish instead. Focus on what you really enjoy, because if you want lasting results, this needs to become a lifestyle. But knowing this isn't going to be just enough to get abs if you don't know how to navigate where you want to go. So let's go over that next. In One Piece, you don't navigate the Grand Line by just vibes. You need tools, you need direction, you need a log post. Because the weather is chaotic, the seas are unpredictable, and if you steer just based on how you feel, your voyage to Abs Island is just cooked, my guy. So here's a mistake that sinks 99% of people. They wake up, look in the mirror, decide they look softer, and then randomly slash calories to basically 0 and then do cardio like they're trying to go gear 5. Or a lot of people will weigh themselves after salty food and go, I gained 3 pounds, I knew it, I'm broken, and then they quit. That's actually not really a fat loss issue. That is an emotional issue. So if you want to get shredded, you need your own log post to point you in the right direction, even if your brain is feeling emotional. This way, you always have something to point you in the right direction, no matter what, and know that you're going to make progress long term. So here's your log post. 1, a weekly scale trend. Don't focus on the dailies, focus on the long-term weeks. Take the average of each week and then compare them side by side to see if you're actually making long-term progress. Number 2, a baseline step goal that you hit on most days. 8 to 10K steps is great, but if you're not sure you can actually do that, just look at how many steps you get on average in your phone and then add 1 to 2K to start. 3, a protein and calorie baseline that you hit on most days. I recommend hitting at least 0.6 grams per pound of body weight, and for calories, subtract about 500 calories from your maintenance. You can just find a calculator somewhere to figure out where to start. And then 4, progress photos every 2 to 4 weeks. You're going to be glad that you have these long term, even if they remind you that you're not where you want to be now. Because once you do get there, you're going to love that you have that journey and that process to look back on. So if you do those basics as part of your journey, you're pretty much almost guaranteed to get lean. Even if some days feel messy or you just have a long bad episode or even a full arc, your log post doesn't really care. It's not going to change. It's just going to keep pointing to where you need to go. So with those locked down, achieving washboard abs becomes much smoother sailing. Now, if you're thinking, cool, but I also want to be as jacked as Miss Monday along with my super sick abs, we can actually do this by analyzing all of Luffy's major fights. So Luffy doesn't get stronger from a secret supplement on Amazon. He gets stronger because every arc forces him to fight a new person or bad guy in a way that he can't just cheese. Like if he could just spam Gum Gum Gatling every time and win, he probably would, or actually maybe he wouldn't. I think he'd find that unfair. Either way, each enemy in each fight is going to expose some sort of weakness that he has. This forces him to change and adapt and push himself to uncomfortable levels, or he just outright dies. Apparently that makes you pretty strong too, but I wouldn't really recommend trying that. This concept is the exact same as good muscle building. The truth is, most people aren't really lifting in a way to build maximum muscle. They're lifting to move the most amount of weight possible, and that's actually leaving gains on the table. Now, that might seem like the same thing on the surface, but I promise you it's not, and I'm a prime example of this. In college, I used to be obsessed with the barbell bench press. It's the main lift that everyone asks how much you can do and is the symbol of a true man. So I got my bench press to above 300 pounds, which is great, but my chest was still the most underdeveloped muscle on my frame. This is because I really wasn't training my booby muscles, I was training the bench press movement. And that's a vital distinction if you want to get the most amount of muscle gains. You need to make your lifts as inefficient as possible. Not inefficient as in like bad form. I mean inefficient like you remove any support and shortcuts for your target muscle. So what exactly does this look like? It looks like removing all the unnecessary muscles from a lift and make your target muscle do as much work as possible. Back to my bench press example, I was doing everything I could to move the bar. My chest was getting hella support from my shoulders and triceps, and probably way too much momentum. This helps sap the weight from my pec gains long term. Luffy would never get stronger if he let Zoro and Sanji do all the fighting for him. It's when he had to carry the team and really do all of the hard work did he really actually grow stronger. So the next time you go to the gym or train, keep this question in mind. Is my target muscle doing most of the work here? Obviously, it's going to be completely impossible to isolate every muscle, but is it doing the most amount of work? If you do this properly, something crazy is going to happen. The weights are going to need to get lighter, but the sets are actually going to get harder. My pecs didn't actually start catching up until I scaled all the way back to the 30-pound dumbbells and truly tried my best to isolate them from there. And although this hurt my ego like hell, this is exactly what you want. Because hypertrophy isn't about moving the most amount of weight possible, at least not at first. It's about learning to force the muscle to produce tension long enough that it has to adapt. After all, tension is the only language muscles really can speak. So your next training session, grab some lower weight and really try to focus on your target muscle working. If it doesn't feel like it got jumped by CP0, then chances are you could be missing some gains. So now that you know how to get shredded and pack on muscle, you should now be asking yourself, how do I stay consistent long enough to see these gains come to fruition? For that, one of One Piece's biggest mysteries may hold that secret. Ooh, what could that be? One reason that One Piece hits so hard is the concept of inherited will. The idea that dreams carry forward. The characters we love just don't fight for themselves, but they fight for something bigger. Luffy puts his life on the line every single time for others, not only because he knows it's the right thing to do, but because he inherently believes in freedom. We see this throughout the entire show. Characters are on the brink of death and they'll still push forward. The whole show literally wouldn't happen if Roger didn't inspire a whole new age of pirates in his final moment. Luffy carrying this idea of adventure and freedom is the engine for the entire show. So stop for a moment, literally pause the video and ask yourself this question. Why did you click on this video? Obviously, because you want to look like an anime character, duh. But why do you even want that? Do you want to feel more confident? Do you want to set a good example for others? Do you know that you could be a better version of yourself? Or do you just want to be happier, healthier, and get all the ladies? I have a spoiler for you though. The better shape that you get, you're just going to attract more guys. Whatever your reason is, you need to hold it close. Because once you have that, not following through with it isn't just like giving up or being lazy. It's actually like betraying your own flag. So I know that can sound really dramatic, but get to the bottom of why you really want to get into shape. It really is what's going to keep you going and will become your own will of D. But even the strongest, hardest, and most inspired pirates can't succeed alone. This is why Luffy's first step in his journey wasn't to find the One Piece right away. It was to do something entirely different. Pirate captains are some of the strongest and most influential people in the whole One Piece world. But even they have moments of weakness sometimes. The one that comes to mind is Luffy after Marineford. To avoid a pretty big spoiler, I'll just say that he was pretty sad after. Like, really, really sad. And honestly, that may have been the end of his story if it wasn't for Jinbei. His support is what snapped Luffy back to reality and refocused on the road ahead, to what was the most important thing to him: his crew. If Luffy just ran solos all the way to become the king of the pirates, the series would be ended on like episode 12. So if this is a voyage that you're truly ready to undertake and don't want to take a gum elephant gun to the jaw, you're gonna need to build your crew. Especially at the beginning when you're just starting to learn to navigate through this. Luckily, you don't need an expert chef or a one-eyed swordsman with the world's strongest teeth in your corner. It can simply just be a training buddy, a Facebook community, or even just your mom. Anywhere that you can show up and report to. And if you have no one else, just comment down below and I'll be a part of your crew. And speaking of crews, if you want the next step, the next video is literally me going straw hat by straw hat and stealing one rule from each member to build the ultimate get jack system. All 10 of them get a roll, so if you want that one, click right here to the next video on the screen.